How is it that you became friends with Stan Laurel?
Well, I actually found out that Stan Laurel was in the phone book, and it was quite by accident. I was about 12 years old. I just called California on my dad's dime, and in those days, you know, a telephone call in New York could cost you $60 by the time you got finished. They didn't have the internet like we have today. So I finally got this operator who was so nice, and I got on the phone. I said, I want to speak to Stan Laurel. I know he's somewhere in California. But she said, well, I should try Hollywood. And it wasn't in Hollywood, and he wasn't in Riverside or in Orange County. So the next thing she did, she just kept going around the different counties, and there it was, Stan Laurel in Santa Monica. And she said, we have a Stan Laurel at an Oceana apartment hotel in Santa Monica, California. Do you want me to try that? I said, yeah, would you please? She said, well, I'll stay on the line and see if it's him. Well, she realized it was a 12-year-old calling. And I'm like, thank you, ma'am. You know, anyway, so I get this phone rings, and the lady goes on. She goes, the Oceana Hotel, please. And I said, is there a Stan Laurel there? Hold on 1 minute, and I'll ring him. It was a lady with one of those plug-in things, you know. And she goes, and I hear, hello? Mr. Laurel, there's a call for you. Thank you. Put him through, please. And the operator gets on and says, is that him? I said, yeah, that's him. Oh. And you said, hello? Who's this? I said, Chuck McCann. I'm calling from Queens, Long Island. And is this Stan Laurel of Laurel and Hardy? Yes, it is. Hello, lad. And then he started to talk to me. Well, it's awfully nice of you to call me, lad. What are you doing? I said, I'm just calling. Is it all right? Do your parents let you call? And we talked for hours, you know. And the next thing I know, I'm calling him like as well. I became such a pain in the neck, I thought, you know. But he was so gracious, and he was so kind. If you thought of Stan Laurel, you know, you had to multiply it. If you thought he looked great and sounded nice in the movie, you have to times it by 1,000. That's how, and then you wouldn't even come close to how nice he was. And he answered every piece of mail. He answered every telephone call. Anybody who ever wrote Stan Laurel got a card back from the Oceana.
What a gentleman.
Oh, yeah. Oh. And in fact, when he was sick, you know, the mail was, I went to the hospital to see him. And they said, oh, I'm really worried, Chuck. He said, look at over there. And there were like 3 big, like, duffel bags full of mail. He said, how am I ever going to answer that? So Jerry Lewis and I offered to get him a secretary, you know, to answer the mail. And he said, no. He said, no one ever reads my mail. Whatever's on those letters is between me and them. Oh, man. Honest to gosh, you know. So, I mean, and he would sit there, you know, and he had a stroke. His right hand, he couldn't, he could barely write, you know. I mean, he was and so anyway, he used to use an Underwood typewriter, and he pecked with all, you know, every one of these cards was, you know, typed out and signed by him, and he did each and every one of them, and nobody read those letters, not even either his wife. I mean, he would show them occasionally, you know, something, isn't this nice? Look what he wrote, you know, and he'd do things like that. I mean, he was so gracious, man. What a gentleman. You know, all I can say to anybody out there who love Laurel and Hardy, you know, if it's like a tree that falls in the forest. If you don't hear the tree, if you're not there to hear it, you know, did it really fall? Well, it's the same with these films.
We got to keep them alive.
Keep them alive by running them for friends. Run them for young kids. I say, you want to do a great service, turn a kid on to Laurel and Hardy.
Right.
Because, I mean, there is the true humor. They're like a rare wine that keeps aging,
Right.
There are a lot of great things today. I'm not saying that that's the only time that it happened, but it was a pure kind of wonderful humor that they had, and you gotta expose it, And there are people that own these films. They're like hidden away. You got to write to Hallmark and tell them, I wish your audience out there, if they love these movies, please write a letter to the Hallmark company because they own them, okay? And tell them to release them in good quality like they have in London. In London, they've released a box set of all their works. I preserved their works with Al Kilgore. Al Kilgore and I went and put them in the Library of Congress. My wife and I went down there, and now there's a wonderful guy by the name of Dick Bann in New York who researched and got copies. The German company, I forget the name of it, but they released them. And if you go into the internet, Halmy owns them here, Hallmark actually. And if you write to them and tell them, please release the Laurel and Hardy films, free them, so that people can see them. Write to the television station, please show them, because only if they're exposed. And that was a wonderful thing that I was able to do in New York, and that's how the Sons of the Desert was formed.
Right.
We ran these films in the afternoon, and they even said, that it's good for rain out, in the ball games, but who's going to watch Laurel and Hardy,
Yeah.
And I said, the kids won't appreciate them. They're for adults. I said, no, they're also for kids. I said, everybody will love them. So we started running them in the afternoon on WPIX, and it became the top show in New York City. I mean, what I did was I didn't just show them, and I never cut them because I would talk to Stan about them. And I would tell them, we never cut them. If we ran a 3-reeler or a 4-reeler, we ran the next portion of it the next day, and then I would recap everything with the puppets. So we let in and out of them, and because they made films at various lengths. They made 1-reelers, they made 2-reelers, 3-reelers, 4-reelers, and then they made the features. But their movies never ran longer than an hour and 10 minutes. Stan would say, lad, if we run longer than an hour and 10 minutes, we exhaust an audience, they just can't take too much. And it's true, comedies weren't meant to run long time. Or if you did, you had to have a respite. You had to come down with the humor before you could go up again. There were peaks and valleys,
Right.
So you would have to come down and go up. That's why the Marx Brothers always did a musical number in between their bits, their routines. They would go out, rehearse their routines in vaudeville theaters, and then they would come back. And then Harpo would do a musical piece, or Groucho will do a musical piece in between these numbers, and they knew that. They needed to come down to go up again.
Right.
You can't go up there and sit at the ceiling at 20,000 miles an hour and expect to get laughs all the way through. You got to keep it really tight, Otherwise, people get tired.
Just amazing insight. Well, I'll tell you what. If Stan could just take us into this next commercial break.
Enjoy this one. It's very important. It's what keeps us going. Hang in, and we'll be right back. Okay.
Let me do it. You'll probably wind up hurting yourself. Oh, be careful. Well, plug it in. You heard me. Plug it in.
Say, Oliver. Ollie. Say, when you come up and you bring your sandwich, say, Ollie. Excuse me, my friend fell out the window. I've got to save him.
Well, Stanley, this is another nice mess you got me into.